What's going on, party people? This is your host of MOT Sports, Zach AE. AE as in I have two last names, AE as in Anderson Escobar. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope that everybody's doing well. I'm doing well myself. This is a nice, humid summer night. So today, we got a pretty interesting show for you. We're going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets and quite the circus that they have become, all the internal issues that they have going on right now. And we're going to talk some UFC as well. There's been some pretty notable and major fights that have been announced recently. So, yeah, let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. And let's talk about all the dysfunction and the complete disarray that they're in right now. The other day, it was reported that Kevin Durant and Nets owner Joe Tsai had a meeting. And in that meeting, Kevin Durant reiterated to Joe Tsai that he wants out of Brooklyn. His stance isn't changing. He's staying firm with that stance. And he said the only way he's going to consider staying in Brooklyn is if head coach Steve Nash and general manager Sean Marks, gets fired. So pretty much Kevin Durant hit Joe Tsai with an ultimatum. And Joe Tsai pretty much almost immediately fired back saying that he's standing his ground and he supports the current Nets staff and he's not willing to cave to KD's demands. I tell you what, this situation is getting quite messy, to say the least. And Nets owner Joe Tsai, he's in a tough place because if he caves in and trades Durant quicker than what he had planned, then it almost seems like Kevin Durant's ultimatum worked, right? But you know, it all depends. It all depends on what he thinks is best for the organization. He's obviously not going to fire Steve Nash. He's not going to fire Sean Marks. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens because if Kevin Durant isn't traded by the time training camp rolls around, you got to imagine like being around that team is going to be drama show every day. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. If I'm Nets owner Joe Tsai, I'm obviously still looking for a dance partner as far as the Kevin Durant trade goes. But at the same time, I kind of feel like he has to dig in a little bit because the Nets did just award Kevin Durant a huge contract, and he still has 4 years left on that contract. So to me, I feel like, when you sign a contract, you kind of got to fulfill it and you have to honor it. So I would kind of make KD stay put if I'm Joe Tsai, to be honest. I mean, you got to honor your contract, dude. I mean, maybe a year from now, trade him. But I don't know. I just feel like nowadays a lot of big name players and a lot of superstars are really getting their way. And don't get me wrong, I have no problem with players having freedom and being able to do what they want and what they please. That's fine. But Kevin Durant literally just came to the Nets, 3 years ago? So for him to already want out and he just signed a big, long contract, I mean, I don't know. Kind of rubs me the wrong way, And so you got that going on. And not only that, but then you have the whole scenario with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving opted into the final year of his deal with the Nets, but they obviously didn't want him as a part of their future plans because there's been plenty of talks and rumors going on about him potentially being traded, and the Nets are looking to trade Kyrie. So you got that, and not only that, but then Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving's relationship has reportedly been on the fritz. These two came to Brooklyn together in 2019, both as free agent acquisitions for the Nets. And both guys have claimed to be really good friends and, best friends at that. So, and now they're having issues. And I'm sure that Kevin Durant feels slighted because Kyrie missed a good chunk of the season last year due to the whole jab business. You know, everybody knows about that though. So you got that. And I don't know. I feel like KD kind of feels like he was left to go to war by himself, and his best friend was supposed to be by his side and he wasn't. So, I mean, I kind of get that. KD was by himself in the playoffs against the Celtics when they got swept 4-0. Ben Simmons didn't even play, you know. Kyrie played, but he didn't really give his full effort. And that's what I mean by Kevin Durant was alone in that series because Kyrie didn't play up to the normal Kyrie standard. Kyrie's an amazing basketball player, but it seems like his motor is somewhat questionable at times, given his lack of, he can lack to put up big numbers when it counts the most. I mean, outside of that game one against Boston, I'm not sure Kyrie had another solid game in that whole series. So you got that. But then also there's the whole Ben Simmons saga as far as his teammates, current and former Nets teammates, are questioning his will and his drive to play because he kept telling his teammates, "Oh, I'm ramping up. I'm getting this back right. I'll join you guys in the fight against the Celtics. I'll come back. If it's game 3, game 4, I'll be there." And he never showed up to play. He kept saying that he was still having back issues and the mental issues he was facing. He said, we're still bothering him and stuff. So you got that going on. And KD obviously doesn't want to play with Ben because there was another article that dropped, Nets related, that said that Ben Simmons apparently left the team's group chat, after game 3 against the playoff series against the Boston Celtics. So you got that. And everybody was already questioning Ben Simmons, how you want to say his character, his basketball character. So they're in major disarray, to say the least. And I'm not sure where they go from here or what they do. I think that they should trade Kyrie. They should trade KD. But Ben Simmons, he'll be harder to trade given he hasn't really wanted to play over the last year or so. So their Nets management and the organization as a whole is in quite a sticky spot right now, if I had to say. In other news, I was seeing that Kevin Durant was rumored to potentially go to Philadelphia and join the sorry about that. I'm reading the comments here. But and join the 76ers. So people in the 76ers office came out and said that they would love to acquire KD. But the only thing is that if they acquire KD, the Nets would obviously want a player like Tyrese Maxey in return. 21-year-old, had a stellar season last year. He more than doubled his scoring average in his second year compared to his rookie year. And I think the kid's going to be an absolute stud, if you're asking my opinion. Huge Maxey guy. So Nets would want him, but Sixers aren't willing to give him up. Coach Doc Rivers just came out and said that Tyrese Maxey is literally the most talented young player he's ever coached in his 21 years of coaching. That's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. So I don't see them trading him. And the only way I think a Philly deal gets done as far as KD goes is if Philly is willing to give up Maxey in return. The other guys I was seeing that Philly could potentially package along with Maxey were Tobias Harris and Matisse Thybulle. As far as that package goes, I'd probably rate it about a B minus. I mean, I like Tobias and I like Thybulle. Tybulle's a really nice defender. I mean, solid defender. Long wing that's athletic. Tobias can give you offense. He gives you buckets. Isn't really known for his defense. Doesn't really do a whole lot on the defensive end, but he'll get you rebounds. He'll get you points. He'll hit some threes for you. You know, he's a pretty versatile forward. So Maxey, Harris, and Thibault, not a bad package, but I like other packages I've seen out there, a la Phoenix Suns, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, draft picks, cash considerations. But now the Suns can't trade DeAndre Ayton because they matched that offer sheet that the Indiana Pacers gave them. So now the Suns can't trade DeAndre Ayton until January of next year at the earliest. So yeah, you got that. I seen Miami Heat were offering a package of Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry. If I'm Joe Tsai, I don't know how I feel about that package. I like Lowry. He's a nice grizzled vet, but he's getting old. And Tyler Herro's a really nice young player, but I don't think he's going to come anywhere close to Durant status, you know. And Duncan Robinson, he's been a bench warmer as of late. Miami Heat paid him all that money, gave him that nice contract, and they pretty much sat him all last year, even including in the playoffs. So I don't. That just goes to show to me. That just goes to show that they don't really value him like they do the money they paid him. Like the money they paid him doesn't match up with like how they view him and how they value him. If that makes sense. So I don't know. That package is okay, but I would definitely prefer the Suns package if I'm owner Joe Tsai, owner for the Nets Joe Tsai. I'm thinking the Suns package would probably be most lucrative as of now. I seen Toronto is also in the sweepstakes. They could offer a package of OG Anunoby and Gary Trent Jr., some draft picks, cash considerations. Nets came out and said that they'd want Rookie of the Year Scotty Barnes, but Toronto's not willing to deal him, and I totally understand why. Durant's necessarily not a spring chicken anymore. He's about to be mid 30s, pretty much almost is mid 30s. I believe he's 34, if I'm not mistaken. 34. So realistically, you only have another, what, 3 or 4 years left of Durant, like prime Durant, like before he starts really wilting away and becoming a half version of himself. So, yeah, I mean, it's you gotta really think about what you're willing to trade and what you're willing to give up for a guy that's at that age. Don't get me wrong, Durant's still very elite. He's still a top 5 player in the league, no doubt about that. But he's getting old, and I don't know. I don't feel like you should trade the house for an already aged asset. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what other teams come out and say, oh, we want in the KD sweepstakes. This is our package. I've also seen reports of the Warriors potentially wanting to go back for Durant and get Durant back, but me, not being a Warriors fan, I obviously don't want to see that. I'm sure that a lot of Warriors fans would love to see that, but then I'm sure that there's other Warriors fans that would prefer to keep their youth. Their youth being Jonathan Kuminga, Jordan Poole, James Wiseman, Moses Moody, those kind of guys. I've seen those guys rumored in deals as far as like if Golden State and Brooklyn were to do a KD deal. Brooklyn would want guys like Kuminga, Wiseman, Poole, and Moody. And I don't know. I feel like that's given up a lot too. I mean, Poole. I mean, he's going to be a great player. He's going to be like Steph Curry Jr. in my opinion. I mean, he showed flashes of it last season, and I mean, I think he's going to be a really nice player. Jonathan Kuminga is going to be a phenomenal player. I mean, the kid's only 19 years old. The sky's the limit for him, literally. James Wiseman, I mean, you can say, yes, that you're worried he might be injury prone, given all the injuries he's dealt with already to this point in his career. But I think if he can stay healthy for once and you know, not get hurt or not get dinged up at all. I think he has a shot at being a special player. Um, Moses Moody is going to be a really solid bench guy, in my opinion. I mean, heck, he could potentially start for a team, but I could see him more as like a bona fide sixth man kind of guy off the bench. So, yeah, it'll be very intriguing to say the least. Like to see where Kevin Durant goes and to see what happens. And if Kevin Durant isn't, if he isn't dealt by the, start of training camp, excuse me, then what do the Nets do? What does he do? Does he not show up to training camp? I don't really see KD as being that kind of guy, but he seems like he really wants out of Brooklyn. So will it come down to that? Will he start missing camp? Will he start missing games? You know? So who knows? Who knows what'll happen? But I'm very intrigued to see that. So yeah, that's about it for that. Let's transition into some UFC here. There's some mighty notable fights that were announced recently. Where do I even begin? I mean, we have Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira announced for UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi. That's for the 155-pound strap. And you got Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira for the 185-pound strap in November at MSG, Madison Square Garden. I'm really excited for that. Also on that same card, we're going to have a great lightweight bout between Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier, lightweight 155-pound division. And then we also have some more fights, such as Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan, bantamweight clash, UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi. There's Beneil Dariush and Mateusz Gamrot at 155 in Abu Dhabi, same card, UFC 280. There's a lot of good fights coming on. I mean, and then not only that, but you got Hamzat Chimaev and Nate Diaz for UFC 279. Okay, I'm going to read some of the comments here. I got one that says, do you expect more lockdowns in the future? Lockdowns as far as like nationwide? Like, elaborate on that. Who's your money on the Oliveira fight? I'm going with Charles Oliveira. I know that's kind of controversial, and I know that he's a massive underdog right now. And I know that Islam is a beast. That guy is phenomenal. You know, he's been under the tutelage of Habib and Javier Mendez and all those guys at AKA. I get that. I think Islam is a phenomenal fighter. I really do. He's really well rounded. But I just feel like Oliveira has a heart that's like no other. And we've seen that. We've seen that like in his past couple fights. I mean, look at his fight, his most recent fight against Justin Gaethje in May. I mean, the guy got dropped multiple times, and he still got up and still kept charging forward at Gaethje. He still submitted Gaethje. I mean, you know, you look at the fight before that, Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier dropped him a few times. The man just kept getting up, charging forward, and he ended up submitting Dustin Poirier. Michael Chandler. Chandler dropped him a few times. He looked like he was going to be put out of that fight. He kept coming back from the grave, coming back from the grave, zombie, charging forward. And then he knocks out Chandler. I mean, the guy's a phenomenal and amazing talent. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, I don't think there's enough words to describe how great Charles Oliveira is. So, and I just also think that too many people are sleeping on him. You know, a lot of people are just like, oh, you know, Islam is Habib 2.0. Yeah, he might be. We'll find that out, you know, but I don't know. I think Charles gets it done. I do. I really do. I think as long as Charles finds a way to get a finish within the first 3 rounds, I think he's good. Because I think if the fight drags on farther than the 3rd round, it's really going to favor Islam. because I feel like eventually he's going to be able to take Charles down, and he's going to be able to put his will on Charles. Islam's an amazing ground fighter. I mean, once he takes it to the ground, dude's just out of this world. I mean, look at what he did to Bobby Green in his last fight. Just kept chasing that takedown, ended up getting it, and then he just mauled Bobby Green on top after that. So, but then again, if you take down Charles Oliveira, if you're Islam, Charles Oliveira has the most submissions in UFC history. So, do you really want to take a guy down that is such a supreme and elite submission artist such as Charles? That'll be the interesting thing to see. But I truly believe that if Charles wins, he's going to get a finish. I think it'll have to be by finish because I just don't see him outpointing Islam Makhachev. I think if the fight goes the distance, I definitely have Islam. But if Charles can somehow find a finish within the first 3 rounds, if he can get a finish within the first 3 rounds, I think it's Charles' fight. Like if he really puts it on Islam in the first 3 rounds, it's his fight to win, in my opinion. Yep, the Diaz. Yep, Khamzat Chimaev, Nate Diaz. I'm really ready for that fight. UFC kind of did Nate dirty with that one. I would have preferred to see Nate versus somebody else other than a young and hungry lion like Khamzat Chimaev. But hey, you know, a fight's a fight. Anything can happen. So we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, you got that. And then Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. Ooh, since we were just talking about lightweights, we'll talk about another set of lightweights. Chandler Poirier, man, I tell you what, I've been salivating to see this matchup ever since they had that altercation at UFC 276. I'm not sure how many of you seen it, but at UFC 276, they apparently were sitting near each other, and you know, Dustin got to saying some words to Chandler. He wanted to get confrontational and aggressive with him, and then they started chirping back and forth. But yeah, it just really made me excited to see them fight. And to be honest, I've been clamoring for them two to match up because I feel like the fight is straight dynamite. I mean, you got 2 guys with legit power in their hands. Both guys are solid strikers. I'd say Poirier slightly more than Chandler, but I mean, look at what Chandler just did to Tony Ferguson with that front kick to the face. I mean, man, that was a gnarly knockout, and that was a vicious knockout. And you know, it really pained me to see that because I'm a Tony Ferguson fan, and I mean, I'm a huge El Kukui fan. So it's been really tough for me to see the slide he's been on lately, and then for it to kind of culminate in a sense by him getting face kicked by Chandler and getting knocked out that way, you know. So, but yeah, Chandler, he's had quite the start in the UFC. He started fighting Dan Hooker, and he knocked out Dan Hooker. Immediately after that, he got the title shot against Charles Oliveira. He almost had Charles, like I just alluded to, but Charles ended up getting him. Excuse me. And then Chandler had that absolute banger of a fight against Justin Gaethje last November. So I mean, the dudes came in with quite the entrance, and I really like him. And not only that, but I mean, the guy is a very charismatic figure. Like he's very charismatic. He knows how to work a mic. I mean, I'm always glued to the TV when this guy speaks because like he really knows how to get the crowd's attention, get fans' attention, you know. So yeah, I'm really excited for that one. And then I mean, to be honest, I'm a big Dustin Poirier guy too. Go El Diamante, you know what I mean? El Diamante, baby. I mean, that guy, what a warrior he is. He's coming off that loss against Charles, but he was on quite the roll before that, beating McGregor twice. He beat Dan Hooker in that straight slugfest. I mean, Dustin Poirier is a legit guy, legit. So I expect nothing but fireworks for this fight between them two. And I tell you what, like I can't wait for these cards that are coming up, you guys. I really can't. I mean, UFC 279, besides Hamzat Chimaev and Nate Diaz, I'm not really seeing any other like notable fight as of now. I believe they're still working on the card and like scheduling the card. But as the rest of that card gets released and all that stuff, we'll talk about that. But just for that main event, I mean, Hamzat Chimaev, Nate Diaz, who don't want to see that? Literally, Nate Diaz, a legend of the UFC, a legend of the sport, fan favorite. Everybody loves that guy. Well, not everybody, but you guys know what I mean. Majority of people love Nate Diaz. I'm a fan of Nate Diaz, but I'm also a fan of Hamza. I mean, I know I'm saying like, oh, I'm a fan of this guy, a fan of that guy, but to be honest, like I'm a fan of quite a few guys in the UFC. I have my favorites though. I have my favorites. Like my two favorite, and they have been for a while now. Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, Tony El Kakui Ferguson. Those are my two guys, and I know that both guys have been on slides, and it sucks to see because those guys are exiting their primes. You know, they're getting old. Jorge's on a 3-fight losing streak. Tony's on a 4-fight losing streak. So it's tough being a fan of those guys, but I'm a loyal dude, and I stick to my people, even when times are tough. So there's that. And then we got another one too we got to cover. So this fight was just announced. Well, I believe it was like a week ago now. Might have been like 5 days ago. But another event for UFC 281, and as of right now, it's the main event for UFC 281 at MSG, Madison Square Garden in New York. Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira for the middleweight strap, 185-pound division. Talk about a barn burner, folks. I mean, two phenomenal and extraordinary strikers just going at it. I mean, wow, unbelievable. And not only that, but it's a trilogy because Alex Pereira beat Israel Adesanya in their first two fights that they've had against each other. But the caveat, the first two fights were in kickboxing. And this is the first time they've matched up in mixed martial arts. So that'll be intriguing to see as far as I have my money on Adesanya by decision. Okay, nice. Yeah, so I could totally see Adesanya winning that fight. But the thing that worries me is that I feel like, and this is going to be crazy to say because Israel is such a great fighter. I mean, he really is. And I'm not taking anything away from the guy. I'm really not. But if you look at his past few performances, they've kind of been lackluster. Like, if you really think about it. I mean, but you could also say, no, he's being strategic. He's taking the Mayweather route as far as like he's trying to avoid as much damage as he can. He's being smart with the way he fights. He's really technique oriented. And I get that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I mean, protect your brain. I totally get that. But I feel like a guy in Alex Pereira, I feel like he really has to bring it. Israel Adesanya has to really bring the fight this time. Like, he can't just lackluster go in there, oh, I'm going to dance around with this guy for 5 rounds. I'm going to just touch, move out, touch. I mean, he could, and I'm not saying it's impossible for him to win that way because he totally could. But I don't know. I feel like with Israel being knocked out by Alex Pereira twice already, yes, it was in kickboxing. No, it wasn't in mixed martial arts. This is the first time they squared up in mixed martial arts. But I don't know. I feel like he kind of has to prove a point. And point being, he has to get a finish. Because you got to think, Pereira's already finished him once. He's already knocked him out once. The first time that they fought, Pereira won a unanimous decision. So I don't know. If I'm Izzy, I feel like you got to make a point. You got to go out and finish this guy. Like, really bury him and make people stop talking about this whole, oh, well, he lost to this guy twice. I mean, yeah, he'd still be down 2-1 in the series. But if he comes out, knocks him out mixed martial arts, people are going to be like, oh, Alex Pereira only won because he was in kickboxing. Like, it was because of kickboxing. Adesanya is the better mixed martial artist. So I don't know. I mean, me personally, I I have Pajeda winning. I have Pajeda winning because I've seen Izzy get touched up like kind of bad by guys like Whitaker before. Not obviously not so much in their first fight because Adesanya pretty much dominated the first fight against Whitaker. But in the second fight against Whitaker, I mean, there's some out there that argued that Whitaker won the fight. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Adesanya won, but Whitaker made it a hell of a lot closer than he did in the first one. And Whitaker touched up Izzy with some pretty good shots. I mean, if I must be honest. And then in his most recent fight, we can look to his most recent fight, Izzy's most recent fight. I mean, he got touched up by Jared Cannonier, you know. So that leads me to believe. Oh, sorry. I'll get back to that. I'm reading this comment. You have Eagles being number one in their division. Yeah, I mean, I'm an Eagles fan, and I'm trying not to be biased, but I really do think we have the best team in the division this year, as of now, given all the moves that have been made, all that other stuff. I don't know. I just the Cowboys are the Cowboys. You know, everybody always has high expectations for them. Well, not everybody, but most people have high expectations for them year in, year out. They continually disappoint. So I'm not going to put faith in them. And me being an Eagles fan, I obviously dislike the Cowboys because that's our rival. So I don't think they're going to win it. And that's not me being biased. That's me just being objective. The Giants, they're obviously in rebuild mode. So they're going to be a few years away from returning to prominence, so to speak. And the Washington Generals, uh, yeah, I don't think they have the pieces either. They're kind of in a rebuild as well, ish. Not in the same spot as the Giants, but they're kind of in a rebuild. They got former Eagles QB now, Carson Wentz. It'll be interesting to see how he can play for them. So, yeah, I would say the Eagles. Being objective, even though I'm an Eagles fan, I'm gonna make that disclaimer now. I'm an Eagles fan, but I swear I'm being objective. I really do think the Eagles win the division. Okay, so sorry, didn't mean to get off topic there, but let's go back to MMA talk. So what I was saying was I've seen Adesanya get touched with some pretty gnarly shots by guys like Cannonier, Whitaker. All due respect to Whitaker, Cannonier, they're phenomenal fighters. I'm not saying that they're not, but I feel like when it comes to the striking game, Alex Pajeda is on a whole different level than those guys. I mean, let's be honest. The guy's like profound and very, credential filled, if you want to say, kickboxer. I mean, the guy had a very decorated career in kickboxing. That's his whole specialty is striking. And yes, that's Adesanya's too. But Pajeda has already beaten Israel twice in kickboxing. So yeah, like I feel like Pajeda's the better striker. It might not be by much, but I feel like he's the better striker. So with that being said, I feel like Izzy is going to try to come in there and prove a point because he's already lost this man twice, right? So if you've already lost to somebody twice or a team, depending on the sport, the third time you play him, you're really going to go in there and want to prove a point to try to get that revenge, avenge those losses, so to speak. At least that's me speaking, me being a former athlete, that's like the mindset that I would have. But so I feel like he's going to want to prove a point. And not only that, but there's been a lot of chatter and a lot of criticism that he's received for recent performances of his being lackluster. And especially with him being the main event, there's been people that have given Adesanya flack for that. Like, hey, man, if you're going to constantly be main event, you got to start getting some finishes. You got to start getting some knockouts. And he has before. He has, quite a few of those, obviously. I mean, he finished Paulo Costa. He finished Robert Whitaker the first time they fought. So it's not like the guy's lacking in the finishes department. It's just that his last couple fights have been lackluster. And I point to Cannonier, Whitaker 2, the rematch, and his fight against Vettori. All three of those fights went to the finish. He didn't get a finish in any one of those fights. So I feel like he might try to come out and prove a point. You know, he might try to get into a firefight with Pereira, and that's exactly what Pereira wants, I feel like. So, damn, dude, you remind me of my homeboy Moses. Oh, okay, well, hopefully Moses is a cool cat. Because if that's the case, then that's good in my books. Is Buffalo the best team in the AFC now? Buffalo, to be honest, I do think that Buffalo is the best team in the AFC now. I really, really think that Tyreek trade is going to hurt the Chiefs. I obviously still think they're going to be a good team. I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think that they're not going to be as dynamic as they used to be now that they lost Tyreek Hill. And I think that really opens the way for Buffalo to come in and be like, hey, we're that team. We're that team in this conference now. So, yeah, I mean, I really like Buffalo. I mean, they're Josh Allen, stud at quarterback, absolute stud. Bills have had a great defense year in and year out, it seems like, ever since they hired Sean McDermott as their head coach. I mean, he's really brought a defensive intensity to that team that was seriously lacking previous to his hire. And, you know, they still got weapons. Dawson Knox. They still got Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. You know, they got weapons. They got dudes. So, yeah, I do think Buffalo's the best team in the AFC. I'm going to give you guys an early Super Bowl prediction. Hot take, you can say. As of now, I have the Buffalo Bills representing the AFC in the Super Bowl for next year and Tampa Bay Buccaneers representing the NFC. I truly believe it'll be a Bills and Bucks Super Bowl. I really like what the Bucks have done recently too, especially acquiring Julio Jones. No, I don't like the injury to Ryan Jensen because I know he's a huge anchor to that offensive line. So that could definitely create some trouble. But Tom Brady coming back, I don't know. Him being the GOAT, you know, like in my opinion, he's NFL's GOAT, period. He's not just the greatest of all time quarterback. He's the NFL's GOAT, period. Like he's the greatest player of all time. I mean, how can you with all the accomplishments the guy has had, you know? But then I get why some people say no, he's not because he only plays quarterback. So, you know, but the quarterback is the leader of the team. The quarterback is the general of the team, so to speak. You know, so you could argue that's the most important position. So that could help bolster your case as far as saying that he's the GOAT. So yeah, there's that. But back to UFC real quick. Not trying to get off topic here, guys. Just reading the comments. I wasn't reading any of the comments earlier. I was kind of forgetting to be honest. This is my first solo stream, so bear with me, you guys. I'm still getting used to this stuff, but no worries. It'll only be a matter of time. So I'm out here slinging it just like Luis does. Shout out to Luis. Okay, I'm going to read some of these old comments here. Let's talk polo. Polo, like the sport polo. I don't know anything about polo. Like I'm just going to be frank and up front. If Germany won, Philadelphia, Cowboys on top, Cowboys Super Bowl bound. Of course we're getting the Cowboys fans in here. What's going on, guys? Wish you guys a good season, except when you guys play us, because I obviously want the Eagles to win every time we play the Cowboys. Maxey untouchable. Yes, I agree. I am a huge Tyrese Maxey guy. He's one of my favorite players, to be honest, and it's kind of an unpopular opinion because he's just now being discovered. Not a whole lot of people know about him still. People are still getting hit to him, but I've always been a huge guy for for Tyrese Maxey, like a huge fan. Sorry, I kind of minced my words up there. But go birds, go birds, Eagles, yes, yes, fly Eagles, fly all day. The Thibault's defense really contribute to wins, though. Oh, yeah, I mean, you could definitely argue that. I think he's a solid defender, but his defense could be a little. How do I want to say? It could his defense could be a little overstated though. Like he may not be as great of a defender as a lot of people give him credit for. Whenever I see the Sixers, he gets steals and blocks by playing risky defense and relying on Embiid. Okay, that's what you mean by that comment. I got you. Yeah, I mean, Embiid really does help anchor that defense. He is the main anchor of that defense. So yeah, you could definitely argue that Thibault is a product of Embiid being there. I totally get that. Okay, let's read through some of these more. Cover for him. Nope. Okay, there's more of the comments I'm going through, you guys. Okay, yeah, and that's about it for the comments. So yeah, sorry. I know I kind of fucking got off topic there and stuff, but oops, I accidentally cursed too. Uh-oh, I meant freaking. Please don't. I hope I didn't violate anything there. Hopefully we don't get banned. But yeah, finishing my point about Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira. I got Alex Pereira winning by finish. I think he knocks out Izzy because I feel like Izzy's going to try to get into a firefight with him. And I feel like that's going to end all bad with Izzy because he's been knocked out by the guy before. And yes, you know, one could say mixed martial arts striking is different than kickboxing striking. It totally is. Like I'm not saying you're wrong there, but I'm just led to believe that Pereira's just that much of an animal. You know, like I mean, the guy's like, just look at the guy. He looks fucking. I did it again. He looks terrifying. Sorry, but yeah, I got Pereira winning by finish, so I'll take him. But I would not mind seeing Israel win either. So we got that. But yeah, you guys, I think that's about it for today. We pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about. Uh, please subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you're on YouTube, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Give us a follow on TikTok. Give us a follow on Twitter. Give us a follow on Instagram. Give us a follow on all of our socials. Like the content if you enjoyed it. And make sure you guys stay up to date with us. Luis and I and Mick. Mick is a part of our crew as well. Shout out to Mick. We all do videos and we all post content regularly on all the different socials for you guys to consume and for you guys to enjoy. So yeah, it's been good being with you guys tonight, and I hope you all have a good one. Peace.